Hello, good evening, and welcome back. EU migrants who come to Britain will not be able to claim benefits for 5 years from New Year's Day, provided that the Brexit deal goes through. So, hey, this is good news. Bloody good news. Of course, if we wish to keep on with good news, then we need to raise our standards as to who we let in the first place, because it isn't just the EU immigration that we are concerned with. However, there is something important worth noting here, which is that for a lot of the migrants, if you will, the refugees as they wish to be called, that the reason that they can come through to the UK is because they're travelling through Europe as a bloc, and we're a part of Europe, as well as quite a few being issued German passports. So by having these being essentially useless to try to get to the UK, it might end up having more of an impact. I'm not saying for sure, as there aren't any reports that this is an intention of what they're trying to do. However, for people who were trying to push that agenda in order to lessen illegal immigration one way or another, whether that be through dinghies or deceitful operations, that is another string to our bow. That is another law or rule or regulation, whatever you might say, another bit of legislation that we can also use in order to bring out, to push for our own sovereignty again, and to try and get this nation back up and running, and to make it a country to be proud of. So it's not how it's intended, but it's definitely something else that I would very well expect to see come to court in the middle of next year. That's what I'd expect. But what exactly happens here? Well, EU migrants coming to UK after New Year's Day won't get benefits for 5 years. Workers won't receive child benefits for children living outside of the UK. Bloody marvellous. New arrivals from the continent will be treated the same as the rest of the world. So, they need to be here for 5 years before receiving benefits. However, the requirements, obviously they need to be an English speaker, and they need to have a job, and they need to be earning at least $24,000 a year, which is the median income in the UK. It's just the middle point. It is not to be a net contributor, as of course that would have to come down to 32 grand. But then I suppose they wouldn't be able to bring in as many people as they wish to bolster their voting turnout. So they wouldn't be pleased to do that. So by saying you've got to be here for 5 years before you claim benefits, because you've got to pay in before you can take out, well, a lot of these people wouldn't actually be paying in, because they'd be receiving more than they'd be paying in anyway, if it's only 24 grand that they're earning in a year before tax. So that doesn't quite make sense. But of course, it is the illusion there that the government isn't really taking tax, because it's taken out of your payroll before it gets paid into your bank account. So you don't have to write a check at the end of each year to say, hang on, I'm paying how many thousand to the government, and what on earth am I getting out of this? That's the idea, so that you can't see it. And instead, the government says, oh, we're giving you all these things. Aren't we fantastic? What would you do without us giving you these things? So if somebody's earning money, then obviously they're contributing, and then it's okay for us to give them these things. Well, no, it isn't. Because of the way that the tax system works, the amount of people that it has to pass through, that, again, they're not a net contributor until 32 grand. And it isn't the government giving things, it's that they're secreting it away and wasting it all, squandering it, for the large part, because it's got to pass through so many people's hands before it gets anywhere worthwhile, so that when there is inevitably a mistake, because essentially planned economies don't work, there is always somebody else that they can push the blame onto. And they can keep the blame game going around for ages until the public loses interest, and then they can just do a little quiet thing so that they can officially say the case is closed when nothing has really happened. And they'll just waste more money on, of course, doing surveys and investigations in order to come out with nothing, essentially. And it would just be bribery and corruption the whole way along. But, hey, As they say, EU nationals already living in Britain and those from Ireland will not be affected. Before the June 2016 Brexit referendum, the government revealed there were 32,000 children of EU nationals who were receiving child benefit payments while living overseas. Brexit means the country is able to get rid of the payments altogether for new arrivals. And I know we would like to see that to say, well, no, okay, we're done now, we voted against it, all done, job sorted, we don't care. You got a family over there, well, how about you go over and help them then? Brilliant. Don't appreciate, giving you things that you then take away from us. That's not how we wish to operate. However, there are two things. One is that the individuals who are a part of this deal are also people, and therefore there's the human element to say, well, that is what has been agreed. That is the offer that they wish to take advantage of at the time, and therefore you've got to honour that agreement, even if you changed your mind later on. They haven't, so you can't alter the agreement retroactively. So that's fair enough. And also, there does still have to be this kind of sting as a memory for the next couple of years, if you will, so that when Labour inevitably tries to pass more legislation, or Labour with a different colour tie if you want to mention the Tories, when they try to pass an act that will be similar to what's essentially been repealed here, you can then still see the continuing effects from the last time they tried this, in order to then say, well, no, because this isn't just a thing of, well, you're in now, and it'll be just for 4 years, and then we'll stop it again. Instead, it's a longer lasting legacy. So that should help to stop it from happening in the first point by making it worse for when it has happened before. It's to make the tolerable hell intolerable, if you will. So, Ms Coffey said, New Year's Day sees the end of free movement and fairer benefit rules coming into force for new EU migrants. A points-based immigration system will come into effect. Migrants from the continent will have to speak English and have a job offer. Low-skilled immigration will become virtually impossible. Instead, EU migrants' chances of getting a work visa will be the same as for applicants from elsewhere. Yep. Elsewhere in the world, and it's a work visa, so it's excluding British folk, of course. However, there are, of course, reasons that the immigration or the immigrant work is favoured for a couple of reasons. One is because the immigrants don't know the laws or their rights as well as British nationals do. So the people hiring them can get away with illegal acts because they're not being held to account. And similarly to that, but secondly, is that the way around having to pay minimum wage, or however much they're requiring here, is to simply provide accommodation at a trumped up cost as well. So they have the accommodation and say, yeah, you'll be paid. How much do we need to pay them? 24 grand. Yeah, you'll be paid 24 grand. That's fine. And then when they get there, go, yes, except this accommodation costs £1,000 a month. And then we're also providing your food, which is another £400, £600 a month. So then they end up with £400 a month for 40-hour or 37.5-hour work weeks. So that's the way that they would try to get around the wage requirements which are being instituted at the moment. So I guess we'll just have to see how that pans out, and if the laws that are being made are actually going to be enforced as they're intended to. Because as we've said before, of course, that unless the law's enforced, it's not worth the paper it's written on. But as always, let me know what you guys think down below. I know there were a few different things going on here, so if you think this will have any credence as to stopping immigrants from other parts of the world who have travelled through the European Union, if you think that, well, hey, we've got a new agreement and therefore we shouldn't have to pay for people's children outside the EU, even if we have before, that's a no. Or if you think, well, no, actually, because, yeah, it's got to have a sting so that they got second thoughts of voting it in again, of course. And if you think that the points-based system is stringent enough for what we're hoping to achieve, or at the very least if it's a step in the right direction. Let me know your thoughts down below. Always intrigued to what you guys have to say. And as always, until next time, have a good one.